and but we have we have myself on Rob Way and Mike Johnson back there, and we have um, um,
Claudia, Kenyon.
there's Kate. Where's Kate? There's Kate Wells, and for refreshments. So everything is set up. We have Joe Blanco here, who is our sponsor, and anybody else. Oh, there's
Right here,
Susan.
right here.
Susan,
And
our
Russ.
Susan, our director here. So there's Russ, and we'll be off, I guess.
I'd like to just say a few words.
Here.
We're always looking, that's okay, Rob. We're always looking for someone as a speaker. And 3 or 4 weeks ago, I happened to see Claudia. And it was at church, and we were just coming out, and I spoke to her a little bit, and she said something, and she usually laughing, and with that beautiful smile of hers. And I said to her, by the way, Claudia, do you think you might be interested? Well, I gotta think about this now. Well, here she is. So I'm happy to say that she's gonna get a good talk about her experience and her family.
Thanks, Russ. And that's exactly how it happened. We were coming out of church, and I was like, you know what? I really have this on my mind. And I really wanted to go ahead and present it here at the Custom House. So when Russ talked to Susan, he okayed it, I says, well, I better get started. So I dove in with Richard, my husband, and we started doing some research on the Deutschland. Am I saying it right?
Deutschland.
Yeah, Deutschland. Okay,
Deutschland.
thank you. So, and you wouldn't believe how much information we found in the New London Day up at the New London Public Library. So I was able to get quite a bit of information and put my story together. But today I'm going to start with the Go Vive, which is a little model ship, that sailboat that my Uncle Louis built. So as the story goes, my Uncle Louis lost his mother when he was like maybe about 10 years old. And his aunt was all he had left because he was an only child at that point. And so she took him in, and her husband was the big sailor. Okay, so he ended up living with them and being on the water pretty much all day. And I'm not sure how much schooling he did, but whatever, this couple, his aunt and uncle, took him in and loved him and showed him the ways of the ropes of the water. And at a very young age, Louis became a captain. And when I was just in St. Martin, yes?
Where was that? Where was this boat?
This boat was in Grand Cause, St. Martin, French West Indies. And what happened was, while I was just there last week, I spoke to a bunch of my cousins, and I said, what stories do you have about Louis so that I could present it? And one story that came up was that one day he was traveling with his crew from Grand Cause, St. Martin to St. Croix, and a squall came up. And in the squall, he was closing in on St. Croix, but not quite there. And I think as it goes, when you come into a port, you have to ask permission to enter or be escorted in. And at that time, he didn't have any time to waste. to go and get the official clearance to come in with his schooner. So he sailed into they called it Megan's Way, and he got into like this lagoon to shelter himself as well as his ship and his crew from this storm. So while the storm passed, once the storm passed, maybe it was the master of the lagoon or the harbor master. He comes down looking for who's this schooner coming into my port without permission. And when he laid eyes on Louis might have been like 20, 21 years old, and his crew might have been like 13 or 14 years old, and they were all saved from this storm, which could have gone pretty bad out to sea. And they was Ansel and Johnny were two of the young men that we are still there today in Grand Cause, and they were his crewmen or crew boys, and you know, that was pretty impressive for being a very young captain. And this one guy, Johnny, who is still in Grand Cause, he builds the actual boats in his yard. And within the last maybe 2 or 3 years, he's just finished one, if I'm correct. Whether it's been launched out to sea to compete in the races during the Fed, I'm not sure yet. But these are just local guys who has grown up in a fishing community like Grand Cause, and they build ships like this, but not so much for shipping cargo, but for races. So I'm just going to show you quickly. Here's a map of the island, and I'm going to show you right here is where St. Martin is right here, and here's Grand Cause. But all of this area here was the area that Louis would take his ship and bring provisions all the way down to the islands, pick up things or drop off things, turn around and go right back up at a very young age. So it's very impressive. And I would say that when he moved to the United States, he worked all his life at Electric Boat, but he always had like either a cabin cruiser or some type of boat that he always gave us rides on the boat. And I talked to my sister today, and she said he was a great uncle because he taught me to drive. Ellie, I talked to my sister Ellie, which I'm hoping she's on there today. But my Uncle Louis taught my sister Ellie how to drive, and she still, remembers that. And she said when he was teaching her, he would reminisce about being back in St. Martin and how wonderful those days were. It was really pretty nice. So that's my little story about my Uncle Louis in the Gold Heave. And his wife, my Aunt Ramona, she was a seamstress, and she sewed all the sails for this little model. And then this was in his garage after he passed, like his daughter inherited it. But in a garage with this piled on it, that piled on it. My cousin Wendy, his daughter, gave the boat to my brother Michael, and Michael repaired it and brought it back to its original viewing. So we are very thankful to the Custom House for allowing us to display this beautiful model in your home here. So thank you on that note.